Today, I want you to meet America's most daring and notorious criminal mastermind. For years now, he has waged a campaign of terror and lawlessness throughout one of the most beautiful and otherwise peaceful of our 57 states. His name? Florida Man. I'm Steve Green. This is Trifecta. And here today to discuss the sordid career of Florida Man, Scott Ott and Bill Whittle. Gentlemen, I discovered Florida Man because this devious crime lord is so daring he actually keeps a tally of his crimes out in public on Twitter for everyone to see. I've collected 4 recent examples of his outlaw antics. Now, in one headline-making caper, Florida Man offered an undercover cop food stamps in exchange for crack cocaine. Scott, somewhere tonight a child goes hungry because of Florida Man who was released on bail. How long can America tolerate such lawlessness?
Well, I am not convinced, Mr. Green, that Florida Man is some sort of evildoer. I mean, you know how they're always after these superheroes. They can never do enough good to counteract the damage they do. I mean, Spider-Man and Batman are seemingly always on the lam from the law or trying to chase them down. How do we know that Florida Man isn't, in fact, a wonderful individual, a great hero who's just doing things so magnanimous that we simple folk cannot understand?
That's an interesting take, and I'm going to have to ask you to pee in a cup after this show is over. In one recent assault, Florida Man allegedly attacked his roommate with a machete, but then cleverly told police that his roommate had stabbed himself with the weapon. Bill, what does it say about modern society that suspected felons will lie so easily to the authorities?
Well, before we get into that, I have to make a confession, Steve, and that is that I was at one time Florida Man. As you know, I lived in Florida for much of my life, and during my adolescence and youth, I was Florida Man. You may remember Florida Man visits Heathrow Airport, falls down embankment, covers himself in freezing mud, or Florida Man gets stuck exploring Gainesville Cave, cries like girl for 3 hours. That was me. The interesting thing, by the way, about Florida Man, and this is the way you can determine his true identity should you capture somebody and not know whether or not it is in fact Florida Man, the absolute certain way to know if it is in fact Florida Man is to check the middle name. If the middle name is Wayne, then it's Florida Man. I'll give you an example. Stephen Green sounds like a jewelry heist criminal, like Ace of Diamonds or something. Stephen Wayne Green is Florida Man, and that's how you can tell. You know, Florida, after I turned the reins over to the current Florida Man, his reputation has only grown in stature. There is something about that state, I can't put my finger on it, but I can tell you this. When I was down in Key West, which is part of Florida, where Florida Man really resides most of the time, somebody explained to me that Key West was basically, the United States was basically like a giant pachinko game, and that all of the loose balls and all of the nuts and general, basket cases and grifters and everything just end up descending just through the force of gravity down at the very, very lowest point of the United States. And that's how I think you can explain the presence of Florida Wayne Man.
Good to know. Now, Florida Man isn't just stealing food from children or getting into machete battles with his roommates. During an attack on the 12th anniversary of 9/11, Florida Man dry-humped a woman during a rampage in suburbia. The Sun-Sentinel also reports he even tried to bite her face. Again, Florida Man was set free on bail. Scott, who is more to blame for this lawlessness? President Barack Obama or former Florida Governor Jeb Bush?
Well, I can't be sure of that, but I know that the dread pirate Whittle was probably involved in this after that confession that we just heard a couple of minutes ago. I'm going to go with President Obama because, I'm on the right side of politics, so if something is going wrong, it's probably President Obama's fault. I think that this is really, when you get right down to it, it's part of the whole White House media complex that for some reason feels like they have to shift the blame from the White House to Florida Man for all these things. I continue to defend the actions of Florida Man, and I think that he's been wrongly accused and condemned in the court of public opinion.
Thank you, Scott Ott, for that interesting and insightful report. Now, in our final story, after a shocking incident in Jensen Beach, Florida man denied masturbating on the public beach there, claiming he was merely fondling a prosthetic penis while watching girls shower, and he says he'll do it again. Bill, hasn't the time come for some kind of sensible controls on the carry and usagement of prosthetic penises?
Well, first of all, that guy's name, without a shadow of a doubt, was Frederick Wayne Schulte. I'd be willing to bet my life on it. And as President Barack Wayne Obama often says, this kind of thing cannot continue. Mark my words, I'm serious about this. Let there be no mistake. Rubber sex toys are, of course, as we well know, the primary export of the great state of Florida. It's probably no coincidence when you consider the geography of the place. And really what you're really dealing with here, Steve, is a result of people who are trying to find a way to get through this Barack Obama economy. I mean, honestly, this is the world that America has come to today, right? It's a world that's so frustrating and so awful that you really apparently have no choice but to relieve yourself on the beach. And yet, the regulatory levels are so high that we all know that that's against the law. It used to be a free country. It's not a free country anymore. So now you have to use these prosthetic devices. They're licensed by the government. You have to get weeks of permits, weeks. And all I have to say is, look, can we just go to one or the other? Can we just go to a place where either everything is forbidden or everything is mandatory? I'm getting a little tired trying to decide which one of these things to do. So signing off for your Trifecta team, it's me, William Wayne Whittle. And when I do get back to Florida, I plan to recover my reputation.
An important contribution to our political thought. Let us now go to Rostov-on-Don in southern Russia, where police say two men standing in line to buy beer were arguing over 18th century German philosopher Immanuel Kant. Perhaps it was a disagreement over his epistemology and the critique of pure reason, or the way he attempted to heal the breach between philosophers of the empirical and rationalist approaches. But one Russian man shot the other with a BB gun, sending him to the hospital with minor wounds. So although Vladimir Putin might have pwned Barack Obama over Syria, our criminals, we can safely say, are still way cooler than theirs. For Bill Whittle, for Scott Ott, and for Florida Man, I'm Steve Green.